How's it going, everybody? This is the Nitty Gritty. My name is Chad. With me, as usual, is Leonard. This is a show about wrestling, and we are going to be bringing you another of our random match reviews where one of us sends the other person any sort of crazy match we can think of, and the other person watches it. We recap it and talk about it here. This is actually a twofer, and it didn't start out that way. But one of these matches was on a list in 2024 of I forget where I saw it, but it was one of the top rated matches of that year. And I'd meant to watch it, never got a chance. Probably subscribed to the Impact app at one point to watch it, and probably never did then. you know, but it was available on YouTube for free. Actually, both of these matches are available on YouTube for free, which is very cool. And it is going to be the two matches that took place between Will Ospreay and Josh Alexander. Um, Both of these gentlemen are now with AEW, but at the time, Josh Alexander was like one of the TNA Impact, guys to watch. Like he was
Yeah, the
in a
commentary
lot of the
mentions
stuff.
I think they actually used the term pillar at one point.
Yeah,
One of the pillars of TNA at that time.
yeah. He was main eventing or in really key matches for a lot of their pay-per-views at that time. And Will Ospreay was at this point New Japan Pro Wrestling and was a name for himself in a very big way even then. He wasn't quite looked at as like, oh, a free agent, where's he going to go? But everybody was viewing him as one of the better wrestlers in the world. So Will Ospreay, I know this because I watched a bunch of his random matches at this time, would go to many promotions and have one-off matches with people, and sometimes promotions that you've never heard of, like Rev Pro. I'm sure some people out there in Europe obviously will have heard of that promotion, but
Did he
he,
go to Hood Slam?
huh?
Did he go to Hood Slam?
Probably not Hood Slam, but we should look that up. Um, so yeah, these guys were big names, and right now everybody probably knows a lot of who they are, a lot of their background. But their first match that they had took place on Impact, November 16th, 2023. I will give a kind of Cliff Notes version compared to Leonard of the breakdown of this match. but
Yes, and both these matches, if it was me doing it, we'd be here for like 2 hours.
So you see Alexander do a crossbody to Ospreay on the outside through the ropes, which I thought was cool. There's an avalanche rolling senton. Ospreay. One of the moves he did a lot was versions of the Tiger Driver. At one point, Alexander catches Ospreay in midair and moves his body into a slam, which I thought was cool. Ospreay looks like he tweaked his knee going for a moonsault, which is an interesting spot. This match can be broken down to technical wrestling versus aerial tactics. I thought so. You see a lot of that kind of blend between them, and you see Ospreay reverse do what there's a Stormbreaker reversed into a pile driver, which is also cool. A lot of counters, a lot of kind of changing moves midstream here. But that's the match in a nutshell. Leonard, I didn't give you a chance to talk about what your thoughts were on these guys, but you can kind of give your thoughts on the two of them, and then, of course, this match.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. So, those are names that I knew. We talk about how I don't watch current wrestling, especially some of the smaller promotions or different promotions that these guys would have started at. And but I knew the names. I've seen clips. Just from these two matches, I really liked Alexander a lot. I liked that it was remind me a little bit of a Chad Gable, Kurt Angle kind of gimmick, with the headgear, and then he's more of an amateur type wrestler. But the fact how he marriages that with a pro wrestling type of style. So I really liked what I saw of Alexander here. Osprey, I know, is like internet wrestling Jesus to people these days. And as you can guess, I did not really care for him. He was flipping around for flipping around's sake. He did stuff because it looked cool, and it was. And when we talk about both these matches, and I'll just say this now: if I could take the first half of the second match and the second half of this first match and put those two together, that's a 5-star match to me. But the portions I didn't like was Ospreay has to get his shit in. And again, this is just a 2-match sample, but both the portions I didn't like in both matches, which we'll talk more about, were exactly the same. It was not only the same moves, it was in the same order. It was A, B, C, D. And it seems like the parts that I liked was probably where Alexander was taking the lead, not so much as the control of the match, but maybe leading the story of the match. So again, I know I'll get hate for not liking Ospreay, but I do really like Alexander and would like to watch some more of him because I know for a while he was the guy that was holding up TNA. And there was a time where I was watching TNA more. And maybe if I'm going to get back into something, maybe it'll be TNA again.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, Alexander, I think since then has had some neck issues, and I don't know if he's had a neck surgery or not. And unfortunately, actually, Ospreay is heading into a neck surgery as well. And unfortunately, a lot of wrestlers suffer from these sort of injuries, and then when they do, every time they kind of come back, they're not exactly the same as they once were.
And do you think the current style has a lot to do with that?
Sure, absolutely,
Mm-hmm.
because they take more chances. I mean, gosh, I
Yeah.
mean, you can't. You have to admit that, even if you like it, which I do, and because I respect the hell out of a lot of what these guys do, but they're taking more chances, and I mean, you could look back in wrestling and point to dozens of guys over the decades that have had neck injuries. A lot of that, I think, is just repetition of hitting the mat, but
Mm-hmm.
maybe some of these guys, based on some of the chances they take, it kind of speeds up that process a little bit. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, even Hulk Hogan toward the end said that he wished he would have used the sleeper hold instead of a leg drop because of
Yeah,
just the impact on the hips and the tailbone that he suffered, from doing that thousands of times, literally thousands of
right.
times.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I obviously do like Will Ospreay. I consider him to be one of the guys that's going to take the business forward, which just makes it unfortunate that I talked about how he has a neck surgery right now. I think AEW has wanted to pull the trigger on him being their guy for a while, but I don't think they can because of the fact that he has some serious issues that he needs to deal with physically. But this was when he was very much on the rise, and as you said, an internet darling for sure. Um, I thought that this match made a really good blend of both. I like Alexander's style. I think he is one of those guys that can fit into many different eras, and that's to his credit. Whereas Ospreay kind of brings the newer style, and I like matches that blend the two of them. When matches are just high flying, or sometimes if they're just two wrestlers that want to do the technical thing, sometimes that doesn't always go well. Or sometimes it's a little bit too much of one thing, But I liked both of these matches. We'll talk about the second one here in a second. But this first match, I thought was very good. It was very much a definitive Ospreay is the winner, and it wasn't necessarily a ton of close calls. Once he was getting to his, finishing moves, that was pretty much all she wrote. So I would,
Yeah, I so the portion I liked was sort of after the Avalanche rolling senton
yeah,
on. I like that. And I like the leg injury, and I think Ospreay sold that well until he didn't. And I would have probably given Alexander the win because Ospreay had the injury that, oh, well, he lost because he was injured, and then you could do the return. So I would have flipped the finishes probably of these two matches. So I will say that. But I did enjoy portions of, I shouldn't I know I always sound down on the new guys like Ospreay. I will say there was portions I did like I did like his selling. I did like a lot of the moves did look cool, and I think after that leg injury portion, there was some story that got worked in that I did like.
I agree with you on the switching of the finishes. I think, well, yeah, I agree with you. I know why they did what they did here, and we'll get to that.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
but yeah, I can certainly see that. So I'd probably go like 3 3/4 on this, which I'm probably sure you're not going to go that high, but
Well, no, I was going to say I don't. I said if I could take the first half of the second match and the second half of the first match and put those together, to me that's 5 stars. But individually, I would probably give both matches about 3 stars.
okay. So let's move on to the next one, which was the match that I had first heard about. But when I saw there was two of them, I'm a completist, so I have to watch both. Um, that one took place January 18th, 2024 on Impact. This was right after, I should add, right after a rebrand for Impact. So you'll notice if you watch both of them that the font and the presentation is just a little bit
Oh,
different.
I
Uh,
didn't quite notice that, but let's talk about this now. Scott D'Amore comes out after and basically blows himself, and then he's gone like a month later.
yeah. Oh man. Yeah. The backstage ish politics that were going on then. I mean, this was. We'll get there because I have a lot of thoughts on
Okay, fine. Let's do the match, and then we can talk about the extra stuff.
So there's a standing shooting star. They do, as Leonard said, there's a lot of similar moves that go on here, but I would say there's just twists to a lot of them. There's a crossbody to the chest through the ropes here instead of the last one, which was through on the back. There's a tornado DDT off the steps, a lot of German suplexes. There's a power bomb backbreaker, which always no matter who does it, makes me cringe. Like,
Yeah, it's a cool looking move, but it is a cringy move. Yes.
yeah, there's a tiger driver through a table. Alexander starts to bleed here. There's at one point another Stormbreaker reversal. It's a double Stormbreaker reversal into like a stunner, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah,
Uh,
that was a cool move.
a pile driver on the ramp. There's what they call it now. Like when I was in college, they called this a reverse Hurricane Rana. Now they call it the Poison Rana. And they're the same thing. You see the Tiger Driver 93, which was made into a really big deal in obviously when it started in Japan, but now in AEW they've made it a big deal when Ospreay uses it. Styles clash into an ankle lock. Then Alexander gets the Styles clash, and then like just Alexander wins the match on one of the most brutal looking pile drivers I've ever seen in my life, a C4 spike pile driver, which I mean you really have to trust like trust the guy. Think about like okay, I'm going to drop you on your head, you're not going to be able to protect yourself in any way. You have to
Yeah.
trust that I'm going to do it just right. It looks brutal, it really does. And they kind of make it so that Ospreay does a lot of heel tactics here, and Alexander's the clear underdog because at this point he had lost the title in TNA and he had been on a somewhat of a losing streak, which is I was alluding to earlier why they probably had him win this one. But yeah, before we get to the D'Amore stuff, I thought this match was a little bit better than the first overall.
I really like the first half, as I said. I will say this about I would have had the Styles Clash be the finisher because they were the commentary was talking about how Ospreay idolized AJ Styles,
Yeah,
so for him to get beat with the Styles Clash would have been kind of poetic, you know. So, but let me tell you this: this is one of my favorite things I've seen in a long time. That I went, that's how you do it. Is when they were outside the ring and he's got him in the ankle lock, and Ospreay is just trying to grab onto something for leverage, and he kind of reaches under the ring and he pulls out the table. He's not looking for a table. He just kind of grabs a
right.
table and pulls it out. And then after he gets out of it, he kind of sets the table up out of frustration. And then he realizes, oh crap, I can't do this. I'm going to get disqualified. And they go back in the ring, and then they kind of work back out, and they sort of accidentally, as I'm making air quotes for those not watching on YouTube, go through the table. And then the commentary says, well, it's up to the referee's discretion, and he thought that was inadvertent, so he's going to let it go on. I was like, that is how you do it.
I agree.
That is brilliant introduction of that table when it's a not a non DQ or a tables type of match. I love that. I also love the stuff they did on the aisleway, and then from that point, you kind of establish, hey, the ref's going to let some stuff go, so they could be out of the ring a little bit more. So I thought that was really great, and it's because of that first half storytelling is what I really enjoyed and really liked about that match. So again, I did enjoy both these matches. There were portions I liked and portions I didn't like with anything, but I did think both these matches were really good. And I think if both these guys maybe had some editing, I don't know what the backstage or the agents are like, but a little editing, a little focus by someone like a just throw out a name out there like an Arn Anderson, who I know was worked as an agent for WWE for a very long time, was very good with the matches, or a Pat Patterson, a
Right.
guy like that. I think just tighten it a little bit. I think both these matches would have been even better. But I did like both. I did like both, which I know surprises you.
No, no, yeah, I'm glad you did. I wouldn't have sent them to you otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean, you mentioned the table spot, which one of the things that, like, I can get past it to a certain extent when it comes to whatever they're looking for on the outside. And I've seen every company do this. But when it becomes oh, I don't know where this is, and I need to look under every apron, what are we doing? Like, move on is what I would say. If I had any say in the match, I'd say if you don't find it right away, move on, look for it later. But, you know, these things are so structured so specifically, it's like, well, this is the thumbtack spot, or this is the table spot, or what.
Yes, and we have to do it right here, right now.
Right. Yeah, that bothers me. But you're right. I didn't even write that down. But that is a very logical way to do it. Whoever's idea that was, that was a good one. Um, but I'd probably go maybe 4.25 on this. This one, I liked it a little bit better. I thought overall it was good, and I liked the storytelling aspect of Alexander being on the underdog spot. But yes, after the match, Scott D'Amore comes out, and I mean, you talk about the old Tony Schiavone overhype, like that he used to do for WCW.
This is the greatest night in the history of our sport.
Yeah, I mean that is like, I mean, I don't know what was going on here, but it was a little much. I understand why he was excited. It was a good match, and he had every right to be happy about it. But yeah, I mean, he was hyped up on something.
Yeah, and he was gone not too long after this, but I just like when he that was the thing because like I saw how long the match was, the video was, and then the match was over, and it was like, well, there's still all this time left, and it was just Demore screaming about how great TNA is and worship me and worship TNA, and it was yeah. And again, in hindsight, that was hilarious to me because it was like, dude, you're gone in like 2 months.
Yeah, and isn't it interesting now, just to kind of cap this off with where TNA is now, or slash where they're heading?
At the time of this recording, they are WWE's little buddy and will possibly even get bought out.
That's the rumor I've heard, and you know, hey, I don't know. I mean, I can't really say that TNA was something I watched on a regular basis, but I'm of the opinion that I was glad to know that it was there and
Right.
that it was another option. If it's just part of the larger machine, however, you know, I don't. I personally don't want to go back to the whole. There's only one company, and if you want to watch wrestling, that's the way you have to watch.
Mm-hmm.
I I do not like that era very much, but I guess we'll see. They are featured on WWE television and vice versa. They a lot. So
Yeah, we don't have time to go in that today with right now, but yes, perhaps at some point we can talk about the idea of the monopoly because I would like to dissect a lot of the TV deals. WWE has their fingers in a lot of pies and what that means. But we don't have time today. But maybe we'll come back to that.
No, absolutely. It's yeah, that is a topic that feeds into a larger topic, I think.
Yeah.
So yes, let us know what you thought of these matches if you watched them, and definitely check them out if you have not. Check out our other episodes, our full length episodes, segment surgery. What's that card? Stupid questions. Hit the like button, subscribe to our content, and comment however you see fit. We're also available wherever you listen to podcasts. So thank you for checking us out. For Leonard, my name is Chad, and we will see you next time.